Who's your favorite basketball player?
LeBron James.
See ya. Hello?
LeBron James, are you kidding me? Everyone knows Michael Jordan is the right answer.
I don't think so.
I bet you wouldn't say that to Jordan himself. Matter of fact, look outside your window.
What did you say?
Stop it. Get some help.
You guys asked for it, so now, after hours upon hours of research, I'm about to deliver some terrifying NBA horror stories. And what better way to start off this video than with the infamous Skirvin Hotel, located in Oklahoma City. This creepy hotel is where the Thunder opponents spend the night when on the road, gearing up to play OKC. And as you obviously know already, it's very haunted. Before experiencing it for themselves, many players did not believe that there was anything paranormal going on in this hotel. That is, until they actually stepped foot in the place. Long story short, there are countless reports of unwanted activity occurring in their hotel rooms, such as furniture randomly moving on its own, loud footsteps appearing to be right outside the doors, sudden knocking on the doors, and some say that you can even hear the voices of young children in the hallways. NBA players that stay there never really get any sleep at all, and sometimes they get so freaked out that they actually have to sleep in the same bed as one another, just for some sense of comfort. And if you're wondering what exactly made this hotel haunted in the first place, we have to go all the way back to the year 1910, where supposedly there was a housekeeper named Effie who was having an affair with the owner of the building and ended up getting pregnant, so the owner forced her to stay in a room on the top floor in order to keep their relationship a secret. But eventually, the housekeeper went insane and got so depressed that she grabbed her baby and jumped out the window, ending her life. And ever since, the hotel has never been the same. When it comes to NBA halftime performances, many go to great lengths to entertain the crowd, but sometimes it doesn't go as planned. Now, making a mistake during the show is totally fine, but performing a stunt when your life is literally on the line is a completely different story. Meet Kristen Johnson, a professional escape artist who was set to perform a Houdini-style underwater escape act during halftime at a game between the Thunder and the Pistons on January 16, 2009, in front of thousands of NBA fans. Before she began, she was handcuffed along with her legs bound together as well, and when she was ready, she went ahead and hopped in, instantly submerged in the tube of water. At first, everything seemed to be going according to plan, until something appeared to be not quite right. She was having a difficult time getting out of the handcuffs, which caused her brain to run out of oxygen, ultimately suffering a seizure, as her crew had to act quick to pull her out before it was too late. Certainly a close call, and is now known as the halftime horror. If you grew up in the 90s, then chances are you know all about NBA Jam, a basketball arcade game that has a reputation of being completely over the top, but still extremely fun. Millions of kids all over put their hard-earned coins in this machine just to have a good old time, but the 1993 version of this game in particular was kinda strange to say the least. Many people say that this game is haunted by the ghost of Drazen Petrovic. And here's Mark Turmel, the lead game designer for NBA Jam. We had already finished making NBA Jam when Drazen Petrovic died. The game had already been shipped, and he was on the Nets. So we had all of these coin-op machines around, and one night, we were playing Mortal Kombat, and there was a jam machine next to it, and all of a sudden, the game started calling out, Petrovic, Petrovic. And this only happened after Petrovic had died. Everyone started freaking out. Something weird was going on with the software. And to this day, if you have an original NBA Jam machine, every once in a while, it will just yell out Petrovic. It's wild. Okay, you could say that maybe it was just a glitch or something, but nonetheless, this will always remain a mystery. It's no secret that NBA players live a lavish lifestyle and can literally afford any vacation they dream of. And when Ryan Anderson went on a trip to the Bahamas in 2012, he had no idea that he would meet the love of his life, which happened to be Gia Allemand, who was once a contestant on The Bachelor. They were instantly crazy about each other, but of course, as time went on, they began to fight a lot, just like any other couple eventually does. And on August 12th, 2013, tragedy would occur. Anderson was with New Orleans at this time, and in New Orleans, they went to a restaurant for lunch, and things quickly went downhill as they got into a huge argument at the restaurant. Reports say that she was always constantly accusing him of cheating on her, and eventually he had enough and just drove her back home to her apartment without even paying the bill. As soon as he dropped her off around 6 o'clock, he immediately went back to his apartment to cool off on the couch. Now, usually when the two got into a heated argument like that, Gia's mom always calls Ryan to discuss it, but this time, he ignored her call. He just wasn't in the mood to answer it. So she would call one more time, but Ryan wouldn't pick up the phone once again. Then, moments later, he got a text from her mother and decided to at least read that, and what he saw was alarming. The text said that something was seriously wrong with Gia, so without hesitation, he got back in his car to check up on her. And once he arrived at her place, he discovered a gruesome scene. Gia was hanging from her stairs with a vacuum cord wrapped tightly around her neck. Ryan vigorously tried to revive her, but unfortunately had no luck. He was completely devastated and blamed himself for her suicide. She was just 29 years old. Understandably, it took Ryan some time to find happiness again, and eventually did with his now wife, Carrie. If you're able to somehow become an NBA player who is somewhat relevant, then you better prepare yourself for the onslaught of messages that you're inevitably going to receive by the ladies. Your social media will be bombarded by females trying to get at you, and who knows what kind of ulterior motives they might have. So I'm sure NBA players are extra careful when dealing with certain people. But Ray Allen should have thought things through a little better. Back in 2017, the story of Allen falling victim to a catfish blew up on the internet. Basically, Ray Allen was exchanging messages with a person who he thought was a woman, but to his surprise, he eventually found out that he was a man. So of course, right then and there, he called it off and cut contact with the man who was identified as Bryant Coleman. Ray understandably felt stupid for falling for it and just wanted to move on, so he ended the so-called relationship, or so he thought. As soon as the man got the message that Ray wanted nothing to do with him anymore, he was not happy. So he started doing what scorned people usually do, and went after some revenge. Coleman came out and said that Allen was fully aware that he was a man, and said that him and Ray were involved in a romantic relationship together for years. And of course, Ray Allen said that was total BS. But hold on, it gets even weirder. The guy tried to turn the tables and claim that Ray Allen was the one stalking him, and actually filed a restraining order against Allen. Coleman was out to ruin Ray's life. The man went on to say that Allen was threatening to kill him to ensure that he would never open his mouth again. Allen and his lawyers were desperately saying that Coleman made the whole thing up, and that he is clearly deranged. Quote, Coleman is the stalker here, who is obsessed with Ray, so it's safe to say that Allen will think twice before entertaining a random quote-unquote woman again, in order to avoid another nightmare like this. Here we have a very sad story. Not exactly a horror story, but it does have a terrible ending nonetheless. It was June 2007. J.R. Smith and his friend Andre Bell were going for a little ride, and Smith wasn't really all that careful on the road that day. He was going 67 miles per hour, where the speed limit was 35 miles per hour. Clearly, he wasn't thinking straight, and ended up zooming through a stop sign, and unfortunately collided with another vehicle, causing JR and his friend to be ejected out of the windshield, landing on the street. JR luckily only suffered some minor scratches and an injured shoulder, but his friend Andre wasn't so lucky. He later died in the hospital. The judge sentenced Smith to 90 days in jail for causing the accident, but would only end up serving 30 days once he agreed to do 500 hours of community service by visiting sick children at hospitals. J.R. Smith later expressed deep regret for what happened. Quote, "It's been unbearable to deal with. I am deeply sorry. I never intended for this to happen. It tears me up that it went down like that." The victim's mother eventually forgave Smith. Hank Gathers, a 6'7" forward who was an absolute scoring and rebounding machine, playing for the Loyola Marymount Lions, coached by former Laker Paul Westhead. Loyola's fast-paced style was the reason why they destroyed multiple scoring records, averaging more than 122 points per game as a team, and Hank Gathers was a pivotal piece to that equation. Going into his senior year, he was viewed as the frontrunner for National Player of the Year. He led the country in scoring the previous year, despite rarely taking any three-pointers at all. He could have very well transitioned to the NBA, but chose to stick around one more year with the Lions. But little did he know, this would be his very last season altogether. About a month into the season, out of nowhere, he randomly collapsed on the floor in a game against UC Santa Barbara, and it turned out that he was diagnosed with an abnormal heartbeat, forcing him to sit out for a couple weeks. He would eventually recover from that scary incident and return back to the court, but he wasn't quite as strong due to the beta blocker that was meant to help control his condition. So he decided to reduce his intake to see if that would help, which it did. He looked like his old self again. But on March 9th, 1990, he wouldn't recover this time. It was a pivotal game against the Portland Pilots. Gathers slams down an alley-oop pass from his teammate, which had him celebrate in excitement. But literally seconds later, he fell to the ground, just like he did before. But unfortunately, he was not able to get up this time. He completely stopped breathing right there on the floor, and the people trying to help him knew that they had to get him out of there quick. Hank Gathers passed away at age 23, and this is certainly one of the biggest what-ifs in sports history. Throughout the Celtics' storied history as a franchise, they've produced some all-time great talent, and Paul Pierce is extremely grateful that he turned out to be one of them. But what if I told you that the Paul Pierce we all know today almost never happened? The date was September 25th, 2000. Pierce was at a Boston nightclub attending an event when, out of nowhere, he was attacked by a group of men and was definitely outmatched, considering Pierce only had his fists to work with, while the men had knives. And when it was all said and done, Pierce was stabbed a total of 11 times, all over his face, neck, and back. And 2 of those stabs, in particular, collapsed his lungs. He was immediately rushed to the hospital by his teammate Tony Batty, who happened to be in the bathroom when the fight went down, and Paul had to undergo lung surgery to repair the damage. When he was in the operation room, he feared that he was going to die. The initial thought was that Paul Pierce stepped in to break up a fight between 2 other people, and that's how he ended up getting stabbed. But it was later revealed that it was much more sinister than that. It turned out that it was a setup. Their group of guys saw that Pierce was flirting with one of their female family members, and they didn't like that at all. So they waited for the perfect opportunity to attack him. The men involved in the attack went on to serve multiple years in prison, while Pierce eventually made a full recovery, and then went on to continue his marvelous career, ultimately getting his jersey retired as a Boston Celtic. So those were some of the most terrifying moments that the basketball world has ever seen. Comment down below if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.